and welcome to Beads Jar. My name's Billy, and in today's tutorial I'll be showing you how to work with the Liberty ribbon. This is the Glenjade Lariat necklace that we've been making using the filigree stamp beads as well. I'll show you how you can put these components together to make your very own at home. For our lovely lariat necklace today, I'm going to be working with the beautiful Liberty ribbon in this nice blue colour with the white flowers. To bring out the detail with that, I've also selected a selection of nice beads. So I've got these filigree pendants, the brushed effect silver beads, a selection of blue beads that I really liked. I've picked up some O beads and some seed beads, but any small beads you've got will do. This is really up to you to join the parts that you want together. And I'll just be showing you how to work with the connectors. So in components, I've got some flat head pins. So we've got the ends there which are flat. Some eye pins, these are both 2-inch. 5mm jump rings. Ribbon ends. And some craft wire, and this is a 0.6 that I'm using. Tools, I've got my precision scissors, or any pair of scissors will do in this case, it's just for cutting our ribbon. We've got our side cutters, flat nose pliers, and a pair of round nose pliers. When people ask me how I want to create things, when I'm doing a project like this is how I would go about it. So I'm going to make this my main focal point of the project. So I want the filigree pendant to be at the bottom of my lariat necklace. And then I'm going to design what I want around it. So I think it merits to have one of these beautiful beads at the top. And from that we'll be having our ribbon. So I'll need the connectors. So from my project to the ribbon. And we're going to need one of them either side for this bit. So this is how I build it up before I start making the actual project. So that's my top section, so I'm just going to move this up here. And then I'm going to want a drop. So I'll play around with some ideas, and I fancy having a drop with these 2 beads as well. So this is going to be the long pendant piece for the centre of my project. I'll now create those to connect together before moving on to the following project of the sides. So I want to pop these onto a pin. If I thread them directly together onto a straight piece, there won't be much movement, and I quite fancy that they'll move a bit more freely when they're together. So in order to do that, I'm going to use an eye pin and a head pin. And to the head pin, I'm going to thread my first beads. So I'm going to put a seed bead so that the bead won't go straight over the end, because the hole's quite large on this glass bead. So if I put my seed and one of the O beads, one, it finishes off that end very nicely, and 2, obviously it stops the bead falling off. So then repeat that on top. So we've got the O bead and C bead again. And then I start to make my loop. I always make my loops the same way. So if any of you have seen other projects, so I'm going to be using the round nose pliers. And we're going to place that above the rectangle bead and the seed bead here. Holding my right hand still, I'm now going to push the top of the pin away from me at a 90-degree angle. I then want to reposition the pliers, so I'm just going to release the grip and move my pliers round, so I'm holding on top of the head pin. And now I bring that all the way over the top of the pliers and down. So I've formed the first part of my loop. I'm now going to take my pliers back into the loop and wrap twice. So I'm going under the pliers and parallel to the pliers with the tail end. And I'm going to wrap that in twice. So as I do, I spiral down with the wire, creating a small coil effect with the wire and securing the loop so there's obviously no gaps. We no longer need that tail end of wire, so you're going to use side cutters to get in nice and close and take away that excess wire. So this is where we create the movement. So I'm going to now pick up one of the eye pins that has a loop on the end. And when I open my eye pin, I'm going to hold my pliers on the side of the loop, and I'm using my thumbnail to support the neck. And I'm just going to twist open the loop on the eye pin. And now I can just join those two together and close it back in the sort of reverse order that I opened it. And now I can add my next beads. So we're going to pick up our beads. Like so. Get my round nose pliers again, and I'm creating a loop. On this particular drop that I'm creating, there isn't a right or wrong side to my pendant drop, so it doesn't matter which way I'm creating my loop. If you do have a pendant that's got a face, you will just need to check which way you're creating your loop so that it hangs correctly when worn. Push your pin away, reposition your pliers, bring that over the top of your pliers to make the first part of your loop. Pliers come out into the loop, and this is where we wrap around. And you want to do about 2 spirals down, or until at least it's touching that seed bead. As with most things, that technique takes a little practice, so you might have a few wobbly ones before they're perfect. If you end up with a tiny piece that's just coming out to the side, you can use your flat nose pliers to just gently tease that in so that you don't have any scratchy bits of wire on show. I now want to connect this to this pendant that I'll be using. So I'm going to choose where I want to attach that. So I'm going to put it here. And I'll be using one of the 5mm jump rings. If you've not opened a jump ring before, this is how I would go about it. So you want to take your flat nose pliers, holding the side of your, I know it's not really sides on a round, but sort of one side of the circle. And we've got the split facing upwards. And then what you want to do is push on one side of the jump ring to open it and bring one towards you. Hook that through the loop, and then where you decided to put it onto your pendant. You then want to close that back together again, so you're pushing one side and bringing one towards you. Nothing to stop you using 2 pairs of pliers if you feel more comfortable. So there's my pendant for the first part, and we're going to now be making the 2 sections that are coming off the pendant here. So I'm picking up my ribbon, and we're going to attach our first end. You can use glue, or if you don't have any glue available, you can also use some clear nail varnish. And we've got our ribbon ends here as well. I'd recommend to fold over the first part of your ribbon at about 5mm, and then you slot the ribbon end onto that. And you pick up your flat nose pliers for this section, and I'm going to come in across the top of the ribbon end, and then I can squeeze that together. Just before I squeeze, I'm just moving my fingers out of the way, and then I can walk, so I'm starting at one side and then kind of walking along, squeezing the ribbon end. Choose the length that you want, so from the pendant, and remember that you're going to need an extra 5mm that we're folding over. Trim that across. And you do the same again. So you want to fold your ribbon about 5mm. Slide that on. Get your pliers in position and squeeze. So walking all the way across, and that's nice and secure on both sides. Create the same effect with a second piece, because we're going to do the same on the opposite side. Or you can have them staggered. This is your project, so you make it how you wish. Okay, so I've got my 2 ribbons done, and I'm going to be connecting them to the pendant. This is your project. If you want to add extra beads here, you can. So you might want to add 2 more. In fact, I think I'll do that because they look really nice. So let's use our jump rings again and connect some eye pins with beads on them as well. So I've got my eye pin, and I'm going to be threading the beads up. So this is how you can just create. You might find that, ooh, that'll look better with a bead in there, or that's too much, that's too heavy. It's the wonderful thing about it. So I'm going to do 2 of them. So I'm always using the same technique when making my loops. So those 2 I've just created now, and they're going to go in between. And you're just connecting with your jump rings, so the 5mm jump rings again. Decide where you're going to attach them. So that's onto the pendant and onto the bead. And then we've got bead to ribbon end. So another jump ring. So we're creating this effect here, and I want the next one be on the opposite side here. So we can see that really starting to grow now. So we've got the drop moving on up, and then we've got our ribbons here, and we're going to add another section. So I'm going to put another filigree up here, and then on this side I'm going to create an interesting section with this bead composition as well. I'm going to go to this side first to show you, because this is quite a long section of beads together, and that's where I'll be using the 0.6 craft wire I mentioned in the beginning. So I'll show you how we put that bit together. The other side's exactly the same, so you just use your jump rings for that one. So I'll just show you how we can work with the craft wire instead. So firstly we need to cut our craft wire. So I'm going to cut about 10 centimeters with my wire cutters. I'll take that off. And here is where it's a little different. I'm going to be making my loop like we would have for our head pin. So you'll notice I'm working maybe 2 centimeters down the wire with round nose pliers. And I'm going to position my pliers on the wire. And just as I make my earring loop, I'm going to push the wire away to start with and reposition it on top, so in the right angle. Bring that wire over and down so you can start to see the loop forming. Back into my loop, and I'm going to wrap around. This wire's finer than our head pin wire, so I'm probably going to do about 3 wraps down. So there's a very small coil forming here, and I've done 3 coils down, and we're going to take that off. So we're going to use the cutters to get nice and close and remove the excess wire, and now I can add my beads. Or you could do a section, if you wished, of eye pins to keep that movement. This is actually going to be a straight part on my necklace, so for me at this moment I wouldn't choose to do that, but it is an option. So I'm just threading the beads I want in between my larger beads, like this. And then I'm going to take the top of the wire and create another loop. So we've got our coil effect again. Remove the excess wire. And we're connecting our jump rings. Just going to take an extra pair of pliers. My poor fingernails are getting a bashing, so I'll just use these to make that easier. So there we have that connected to our ribbon. Oop. And that's just shown me I need to squeeze a bit harder on this ribbon end because it's slid. That's where your glue comes in well as well. Just pop a little glue or nail varnish in there. So that's that side connected. And you move on to this one and the pattern that you want. For inspiration and ideas on making and putting together, obviously we have our tutorials, but there's various books available at Beads Jar. So for various different things, there's the soutache books, there's bending wire, using glass beads. We've got a large range and they're very fab to have around because if you start beading, this will just be an extra avenue for giving you ideas and inspiration of what you can create yourself at home. Now I'm at the next stage of this beautiful necklace, and as I said, I'm making a lariat, so I'm going to go for a large length of ribbon now that will go all the way around the back of the neck and give me the drop that I want. So this is up to you now where you want that pendant sitting. So you're going to be, this part's going to be the central part that's at the front, so you want to decide that length based on where this is going to sit. And then once you've chosen all that, you're adding your ribbon ends again, and we'll be connecting them with the jump rings. Now we've added those jump rings, you have your completed lariat necklace with the components together and that beautiful Liberty ribbon, just really adding that beautiful effect and finishing touch to that necklace. Thank you for watching today's tutorial. If you've enjoyed it, give us a big thumbs up, and you can also subscribe now to see our future tutorials online. We hope to see you next time. Thanks from Beads Jar. Bye!